Well, thank you for joining us for the Fireside Chat with WISeKey International. With me today is Carlos Moreira, founder and CEO. Um, you know, thank you for also for joining us. And why don't we jump right in? Carlos, give us a brief overview. What is WISeKey? What are your primary businesses?
Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Great to be with you again. So WISeKey is a cybersecurity IoT company based in Switzerland in the United States. We also have offices in the United States. And WISeKey has been very focused on cybersecurity as a way of authenticating objects and people communications, right? So our core business has been started with PKI, public infrastructure, and evolve subsequently with IoT as we also design our microchips. Then we put inside objects. This is Internet of Things, interconnectiveness of objects. And then we added different layers of technology that allows basically objects to connect to the cloud in a seamless way and totally secure. So very important niche now, as you know, we are connecting 2 trillion devices to the internet. All these devices require security. If you have one device that does not have security, it compromises the rest of the devices. So network integrity is essential. And with our technology, we are able to provide identity management at the device level. So imagine a drone or satellite or a router or a mobile phone. All these objects require that level of security. So 1.6 billion devices are already secured by WISeKey. Our cryptographic root key, which is the software component, is already installed in 6 billion devices. So this is a dominant root key. It's like RSA or VeriSign or DigiCert in the United States. Because you need an end-to-end encryption, the root key issues a identity for the device, which is stored in a semiconductor, is a secure element. Then you put inside the object, and the secure element issues an identity, and that identity is the one you collect in a cloud. Could be Amazon cloud, could be Azure, could be any open cloud, and that identity is the one, and then you verify to ensure that the object is the genuine object. So endless applications, very important in industries that they are being threatened now, like hospital infrastructures, like military infrastructure, like in some cases traffic lights, and anything which could be hacked. You know, the hacking that has been announced by the U.S. Government a few days ago was actually targeting critical infrastructure, because normally critical infrastructure do not have this decentralized process. Basically, the security is provided at the database level, so they have very large databases and provide security. But if you hack the database, then obviously you hack everything else, right? So decentralization of the identity through blockchain technology, ledgers, and the possibility of not having everything in one place is something that we provide to our clients.
Thank you. And for the less technical among us, I think you gave a great overview and concept of how PKI works, but could you get a little, what is PKI? What does it really mean for a user like me or you? How does it create authenticity, or how does it create security for me?
So, I mean, PKI is basically similar to what you do in the physical world. Let's say that you open a box with a bank, you have a key, then you keep yourself, and a key, then the bank keeps themselves, and you need both keys in order to open your safe box, right? So you do that in the same way by providing a key to the person, which is your key. This is not a password. This is a digital certificate that is only owned by you, and nobody else has ownership on that. So that certificate basically establishes your digital identity. And that certificate is synchronized, is trusted by the root key, which is the one that the infrastructure provides, right? So when you have both, you can encrypt emails, you can digitally sign a PDF file. You don't even need any app like DocuSign and things like that on the top, because you have the possibility of using open software. You you can just download any email application and digitally sign your email. So if I digitally sign an email where, let's say, I offer you to buy my house, and I PDF sign that email with my digital certificate, I create a binding transactions with you, which is not possible with any other technology. So this technology has been there for many years. I mean, we are talking about 35 years. PKI has been the technology that RSA, VeriSign, Symantec, all these companies have deployed. All the major secrets of the world are kept by PKI, right? So what is interesting now, and why PKI is hot again, is because PKI at the beginning was only for identity of people. So that means securing your communication, securing your email, securing your data. Whether now PKI has been expanded to IoT, to Internet of Things. So now the same way we can encrypt the communication between email exchange, now we can encrypt the communication between the drone and the station, and that communication will authorize the drone to have several functions that only the person which is authenticated to have access to those functions will be able to execute them, right? So the IoT is basically creating a new paradigm. Now, another interesting thing on PKI, that blockchain technology can also be used. Before, PKI was centralized in databases where you keep the certificate. We call that certification authorities. Whether now the new design WISeKey is applying is using blockchain decentralized ledger as a way to store the keys. So if you have your digital identity stored in a decentralized ledger, you can point anyone to that ledger to verify your identity without the need for you to disclose the certificate. So very new ways of using certificates with blockchain, which, by the way, is the foundational architecture also for NFTs, you know, because now you can digitally sign an object and create an NFT directly by minting the identity of the object on the blockchain. So you go from very traditional method of securing things to very new methods of providing verification in decentralized blockchain ledgers.
Very interesting. Well, since you brought up NFTs, I have to ask, you recently, I think, minted the first NFT from space. I think that was the event. So talk to me a little bit. What does that mean? I think you launched some satellites. How does that all come together?
So in that view, that everything needs to be verifiable, real time. So if you put a microchip into a parcel, into a container in the sea, into a box, into a hardware, you don't want to use 5G to verify real time. It will be too expensive, and in some areas 5G will not even be possible, and will be cumbersome. So the final destination for verification is space, right? Because it's cheaper and is everywhere. You can verify objects in the middle of the sea, in the desert, pipelines. You can verify objects anywhere. So the WISeKey with the SpaceX beginning of this year launch of Pico satellites. So those are IoT satellites. They are very tiny satellites, and they are used to verify real time from space the identity which is stored in the microchip. So that means that the satellite, which goes around Earth on daily basis, through a constellation of those satellites, can real time pick up the signal that is sent by the key, which is stored in the object, and then the satellite sends a message back saying, yes, the object is trusted. So applications are agricultural applications, sensors that you're going to put on agricultural products. Here in Spain, I am actually in Spain today, where we are discussing putting that on olive trees. There are millions of olive trees, and they need to supervise that the trees are irrigated properly, and that information is coming from space. It can be to supervise pipelines, gas pipeline, oil pipelines, then in the middle of the desert. It can be to track cargo in the middle of the sea. So anyway, so it's endless IoT application. I mean, it's basically a combination between satellite and Earth stations. We use LoRa, which is a very extended protocol on verification of signals. And the idea is to provide global traceability real time for every object that has an IoT device. What we did in plus of that is to say, if we are able to verify the chip which is stored in the object, what about if we issue an NFT directly into the blockchain and we mint the NFT from space? So what we did, we used this unique opportunity to we teamed with Brooke Shields, a celebrity in the United States. She has been doing her entire career, her data, pictures, and everything has been is stolen without her authorization and published on data. So she wanted to make the point that you could secure her personal data and pictures and videos with encryption and mint them into blockchain so that she could create NFTs of that content. And then what we did is we minted actually real time the NFT from the satellite. We wait until the satellite was crossing the United States, and from that angle we just created a key, and that key was recorded in a Casper Labs blockchain, and that was broadcasted in Times Square, and the NASDAQ event was an opening bell ceremony. So it was a way to show how this technology can work in the extreme. But what is going to happen in the future? This is going to be for any kind of usage. I mean, you could imagine FedEx parcel being tracked by satellite, so they ensure that the parcel then the left from the store facility is the same one you are getting. Imagine terrorists modifying the parcel or disrupting the supply chain process. So the possibilities are endless, and the world is working towards that. The price is now very accessible. You can put this technology for less than $1 in a parcel or in an object. So obviously now is the time where companies are willing to make that type of investment.
Thank you. That's very interesting. So I guess I don't know if you've talked about this before, but how long until you have a significant portion of the oceans or agriculture or rural land covered and accessible from these satellite launches?
I mean, it doesn't need to be only our satellites. We did it our satellites because we wanted to create our own constellation for our own private and personal company usage. So we test technology real time. But you can do the same thing with the Starlink. I mean, you can team with existing constellations in the space. I think what the uniqueness is now, that before it cost you $20 million to send a satellite, now you can do it for $200,000. And I think that's one of the major contributions of SpaceX has been to democratize the access to the space, right? So companies like WISeKey now can have our own constellation as we are sending the satellites with them, right? At the same time, they send Starlink satellites. So it's a very open way of letting even competitors to use that access to the space. I think as we move forward in this technology, the interoperability between satellite connection is going to be universal, because there are international standards that they are being set up, so satellites can communicate with satellite in the same way that if I go to the United States and I can roam in with my mobile phone, even if I don't have a subscription with your telco carriers, right? So with a constellation of 80 satellites, for instance, you can cover the world real time, and you can track everything. So 80, we have already 20. We're going to be sending 80 by the end of the eight of the year. We also team with a startup where we also investors with the name FOSA, which is design some satellite modules. So it is an industry which is fascinating, and it is an industry also that, as you know, for military purposes, armies and others are developing their own space divisions as a way to use the space as soon as possible. I mean, space is going to be the next battlefield, and we need to be secure there.
Thank you. So maybe if we could also touch on, you have a platform called WISeID. What is that? How are you is that a consumer product? Is it a business product? And, what does it do for us?
So WISeKey, it is both. It's actually a B2B and a B2C. So in the B2B will be an enterprise that they want to issue digital certificate to their staff because you're working remote from home. So you want to be sure that all the communications from your house to your enterprise is secure, and you have an authenticated access to your databases and CRMs and information in a way that is encrypted. So we provide WISeID digital certificates and certification authorities as an enterprise play. This is very similar to what VeriSign will do or where DigiCert will do. The uniqueness in our case is that as cybersecurity is becoming very nationalistic now, you see what is happening. Having a Swiss company that is neutral in the way we handle cybersecurity, it is also a much better way to sell in countries like in Asia, like in Europe, like in Germany, that they are not covered by the American cybersecurity companies. The other aspect is what we call the WISeID as your own password certificate type of security, right? It's a lot of people that they use Facebook Connect or Twitter ID or Google ID as a way to single sign on everything. This message and say, if you want to continue, just do you want to use your Google ID? And you will do that automatically without really thinking too much about it. But every time you do that, you are creating more dependency on these players, right? So that means that the day that for any reason you don't want to use Facebook anymore or Google anymore, then all your credentials disappear, right? So our view is that users should have control on their digital identity, what we call basically your digital passport, and that identity should be yours, and you can single sign on with your digital identity anywhere in the world you want with any kind of services without losing control of your personal data and digital identity. And that is an interesting business model now emerging because people are realizing that their data has value and they are not able to monetize that value if their identity is being controlled by your platform provider. So if you take that under your control, then the next thing you can do is you can monetize your consent. Like you want to access my data or my PII, then you give me something. Give me a discount. Give me points. Give me crypto. Give me whatever I want to share with you the digital value of my data. So that's you can only do if you have a WISeID type of certificate. So it is a trend that is emerging. Actually, WISeID certificate is also the way we ask our clients to register before they enter into the NFT platforms of WISeKey, because we want to avoid what happened with OpenSea and a few others, and they have lost a lot of NFTs. A lot of unauthorized people enter into the platform. They create a lot of disturbances inside the platform. In our case, only users with a verified identity can access the platform, and they have to certify it as well, like you do in a KYC process, who they are, where the money comes from, as a way to be sure that whatever you're doing in the platform is clean and you're not bringing dark money or this kind of issues on some platform they still process. Yeah.
Seems like a pretty different way to build or kind of design an NFT platform. So can you talk a little bit about what you're learning from? I think you've had something for about running for 2 or 3 months now that's been live. So is the market taking to that concept of authenticity and identity? And what's the reaction so far?
Yeah, what we actually learn is that cybersecurity companies are ideal players to develop those platforms, because when you are not a cybersecurity platform and you're trying to develop an NFT, you're going to enter into all the issues cybersecurity companies know how to solve, right? Like encrypting your data, providing authentication for the user, being able before you mint the NFT to verify that the object is a real object, so the provenance certification. So all that is this technology that we use for many other things, even before thinking about NFT. So that's why we advanced so fast. Actually, in less than a year, we built Wise.art, which is our NFT platform. We have now like 400 artists in the platform. We have about $65 million or NFT value in the platform and growing something like 300% per month now. The model is actually straightforward. We provide everything. We provide the technology. We provide the platform. You provide the art as a user, or when I say art, it can be any fungible asset, basically. In some cases, like paintings, and we have a lot of art, which are physical art, actually. And so we put microchips in the physical art as a way to certify the digital twin, which is the NFT, and be sure that the NFT corresponds to the original. It's not a fake NFT. And then we provide the KYC process to verify that the transaction and even the money, the wallets used on that transaction, it's clean money. So what we learn is that cybersecurity is the major driver for this revolution. And what we also learn, that if you do NFTs of art, you can do NFT of intellectual property, you can do NFT of patents, you can do NFT of clinical trials, you can do NFT of invention. So NFT is not only art, it's not only the first generation of NFTs, right? We did several world firsts. We did a world first. We sold one watch for $2 million NFT without selling the original. So that was amazing. And that is also opening now new possibilities for like designers, and they are now designing directly NFTs without even doing the watch. I mean, you might want to buy the NFT of the watch, and the new generation might not even be inclined anymore to buy the watch itself, because the watch has diamonds and gold and things that they are not sustainable for the planet. So some people are preferring now to use the NFTs and just show that they want to have a digital asset without need to own the original. Imagine real estate in the future. Chanel is announcing NFT for designing your avatar. So you can buy Chanel clothes for your avatar without ever being able to touch the tissue itself. So the verification that this is actually from Chanel is going to be very important, because anyone could design a Chanel dress for your avatar, which could be a fake one. So this is going to drive the industry of verification and traceability, and that's is going to be a very good way to convince brands as well to put the effort to make their objects less easy to counterfeit. We are still in a $2.5 trillion economy, which is a fake economy. It's counterfeiting product, illicit trade. This is a very big problem. This is 5% of the global GDP now that goes into counterfeiting objects. And at many years ago, when I started to convince the brands to put security on their objects, they say, "Oh, well, why are we going to bother doing that? This is a cost to us." Now they are actually realizing that this is the only way to protect their consumers, and they are much more inclined to do that because they see a benefit immediately on the metaverse, right? If I put some security on the physical object, that security is immediately converting into an NFT, and therefore can populate the metaverse that this organization is building.
Thank you. I was hoping to go back to, I saw a news report today that, there was a border gateway protocol, maladvertisement, I guess, where some routes were misadvertised. Not to be technical, but basically, authenticity of traffic seems to be important. That when, if a ISP is doing something wrong and trying to request traffic that it shouldn't be getting, how does PKI, how does your technology determine that, hey, when I'm trying to communicate with Twitter or Google, I'm communicating with the right platform?
Yeah, so I mean, the first line of defense there is SSL certification, secure socket layer, which is the making sure that the hardware you're talking is the real hardware. So it has happened so many times that people say, "Oh, but I've been hacked, or I have been defrauded because I make a payment." And when we ask them, "Are you using HTTPS?" just there, where you are just installing a root certificate into your browser or into your website to be sure that you are talking to the right website. So that's the first layer. If you have only you access website or hardware, then they provide the hardware security at the certification level. This is a way to reduce 99% of the issues related to unauthenticated traffic, right? Because you can tell that this traffic comes from an authenticated device or hardware. The problem is that because mobile phones are so interactive, people in our days don't check that anymore, right? And there's where I think the responsibility of ISPs and telcos in particular, some of them that don't do that job very well, is to only authorize traffic from authenticated hardware. So it will be very easy to just program your backend infrastructure. Just say, I only want to receive things that come from an HTTPS certifiable hardware, and if I click on the S, which is a small seal that you get in your browser, you can open a window that says, okay, this comes from Visa, the CA's Visa New York office, and then you can follow the chain of trust, and then you trust the communication because coming from an authenticated source. That's basically the foundation of the entire WISeKey infrastructure. We only talk to authenticated users and authenticated device and authenticated servers. I mean, we are in a cyber war environment. People don't realize that this is not only tanks and drones and planes that they are attacking, right? This is the internet is highly vulnerable. And users on the internet are using the internet in our days for very complex transactions without having the knowledge and the technology that protects them, right? And because the technology is exponential, so this is going every day faster and faster. And humans, we are linear, so we have a step by step. It is a battle that is very difficult to win because by the time the technology expands, or knowledge and capability of accepting to that exponentiality is very reduced. So people obviously take advantage of that. But that's why I think it's great that what decisions have been made now in the United States and European Union as well to invest heavily on cybersecurity and create even audits. We are here talking in Europe now to create a cybersecurity audit that companies will have to provide on a yearly basis in the same way that you audit your financial records to guarantee that your company is secure, so you are not a threat to your consumers, to your clients, to your shareholders. So we are going to get there very soon, right? Cybersecurity is a number one priority now. It wasn't there before. Before was like, I already put my money on marketing than on cybersecurity, right? That was the reaction I found in my career. Now this is changing, which is a great opportunity for cybersecurity companies like WISeKey and others, because they're going to grow much faster than before.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Carlos, we're just about out of time. So I want to thank you for sitting down with me virtually and having this conversation. I think it's a very important one, and very excited to be covering WISeKey myself, and look forward to seeing where you go.
Thank you, and pleasure to be working with Maxim as well, and with you, Matthew, in particular. Look forward to continue the discussion.